Hey everybody. Hey everybody. I should set up a little live chat thing so people can see. Let me fix that. Smash the button. Oh, I should move over here. Oh, thanks, Factual Line. Probably should have prepared this in advance, but you know, we're doing it live. And you know, after today, you know, who really prepares in advance anymore anyway? Over here, maybe? That'll do. So, where do we start? I am, Kat. I really think I am. Because I at least know what I'm trying to do. You know, I really don't know what they want me to believe. I don't know what they believe. I don't even know where to start. Let me see here. So I just picked a bunch of filings, and I'm just going to open them, and then I'm going to... Yeah, exactly, Matthew. It says, this case confuses me so much, I don't even know what happened or who did anything, LOL. Correct. You're not confused by this case at all. See, the thing that I want to impress upon people is that this case isn't a dumpster fire because so much time has passed. It's a dumpster fire because it's a dumpster fire. So I'm going to give you an example. This is the, I think I tweeted about this already, but this is the arrest affidavit. It's a pretty important thing. Ooh. And they just spelled his name wrong. And that's like the lead investigator. I'm not saying you got to do everything right. Yeah, I don't think that's the other thing, is I don't think it's like a cold case that got solved. I think it's just a cold case that they decided to charge for no apparent reason. I don't think anything's changed since, 2015, if not earlier. So, we have a GBI report here that the Georgia Bureau investigation thought that Melissa Wolfenbarger was a black woman. Detective Calhoun, the guy that's, the lead investigator, Detective Calhoun was requesting assistance of Agent Lima in processing the scene of a suspected homicide that occurred in 1999. Detective Calhoun stated that the body of a black female was located in Atlanta in 1999. That's actually correct now that I think about it. Because there was a black female located in Atlanta in 1999. So I guess I was wrong on that one. They're correct. And it's just one of these things after another. I actually think that the delay is going to be good for the prosecution, not bad, because nothing makes sense. And But the jury might be able to just brush it off and say, oh, well, a lot of time has passed. Let me see. I guess I should start with one of the motions that explains what's going on here. Oh, no, they're just confused about, like, what happened. They just didn't know, like, the race of the victim. Exactly, Dominique. Like, I don't know what... Okay, I guess before I get into the rant, I guess I'll say that this is my thought on the case, is I don't know... I really don't know what the theory is even supposed to be. If you just look at the timeline, it doesn't even really add up. So we know that the victim was seen on or about December 10th of 98. That was supposedly the last time she was seen. But then the Saw stuff doesn't happen until February 11th or so. So there's a 2-month gap there that's just unaccounted for. And then there's this theory that the body was dumped at the place of work of Christopher Wolfenbarger. But he wasn't even working there after he got the saw. So he would have been like going back to the job that he didn't work at to leave the body there. Like, you don't go back to the place that fired you and try to hide something there because they don't like you because they fired you and maybe committed a little bit of fraud by marking no work instead of terminated because he didn't want to deal with unemployment. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what... We don't know what... Who... We don't know what. We don't know where. How. Sometime between December and April, there was a murder, I guess. Let me see. What is one of the motions I'm looking for? This one, maybe? Here we go. Okay, so if you haven't been following this case, it's going to be a little bit, let me fix that. A little graphic. Not just in the typos, but, substantively too. Maybe this one. No. We'll do this one. The gap with the saw. Yeah. I mean, I don't really understand, like, what the theory is at all. The witnesses clearly aren't prepared. It's not like there's a surprise, like there was some kind of time warp, and all of a sudden the prosecution gets there, and 20 years have passed, and they're asking questions, and the witness has no idea what to say because so much time has passed. Like, time is mostly moved in a straight line. So, that they don't remember. So you should be accounting for that in your witness preparation or in your theory of the case. Drive me crazy. So this will be an example. On April 29th, the head was found at 858 Avon Avenue. The 23 scene visit. Maybe I should start with that. There's so much stuff. I don't even know what I want to get into. Ooh, this isn't the right one. I can't use this one. There's so much, like, broken. I could barely sleep last night because of how many things were terrible. Maybe this one. This one? No. I think it's this one. Yes, this is the one. I have a little surprise at the end of this motion. So this is the timeline that they're going for. On April 29th, some remains were found. That one cold case guy with a superb solve rate in Georgia. Are you talking about Lewin? Okay. Then on June 3rd, but in like the same place. It's not like in a different place. It's like the remains were found in the same place. Just, you know, a little ways away. Melissa Wolfenbarger's husband was accused of committing simple battery on July 21st. The case was in state court. However, the case was placed on the dead docket on March 15th, 99. That means it's not dismissed. It's just kind of like left in limbo indefinitely. Ms. Wolfenbarger's mother, Norma Patton, reported her missing to the Henry County Police Department in January of 2000 after over a year had passed. Law enforcement initially investigated Christopher Wolfenbarger. Initially, when interviewed, he stated that he and Melissa split up and that he never reported her missing. They did split up. That's actually a verified thing that happened. At the time of her disappearance, Christopher was employed by Action Glass. See, we don't know when she disappeared, though. So that's just... They're saying that she disappeared sometime between December 10th and April 29th. So they don't know when she disappeared. So they don't know whether he was working at Action Glass or was not working at Action Glass. Can his lawyer see these videos? He could. I don't think they need my help, though. The remains were located directly across the street. That's not really true because they were found in multiple places. And also, he didn't work there in April, so that's not true either. That's completely misleading. It should also be noted that Christopher asked the owners to borrow a saw just a month prior to the remains being located. So that is, he was terminated on February 11th, right? And the remains were found on April 29th. See here? Yeah, it's December 10th. I have the indictment here. I'll just show you. I should always start with the indictment, especially since, I'm me and that's like my whole thing. 10th of December, 1998 through the 29th day of April, 1999. The exact date being unknown. In a manner unknown. In a place unknown. I mean, there's nothing. I don't even know what I'm supposed to take away from this. It's just... yeah. And I mean, if it's later, if it's like March, then the job... He left the glass place on February 11th. Don't you need a reason to indict somebody? No. No, just watching. I'm just kind of rambling incoherently. I'm just going to be pointing out just dumb things. Just sloppiness. So on June 3rd, there were more pieces found. Norma Patton. So February 11th is when he was terminated. Really sad. There's so few people in her life that can't even nail it down better than that. Yeah. I think she picked up her check at the Waffle House. She picked up a check at the Waffle House on December 10th. And it's not clear what happened after that. Because she was dating... Oh, right here. I'll keep reading. During his interview with law enforcement, Christopher stated that he and Melissa were married since age 17. He stated they have 2 children that live with his mother. And they had been temporarily separated since 1998. The mother actually had, I believe, legal custody of the children. Melissa legally abandoned her children, I believe. He said he picked her up and drove to Taco Bell where they talked about their relationship. I will say this. Don't do that. If there's a place where you want to have a conversation about a relationship with a loved one, a spouse, a fiance, a partner. I wouldn't do it in a Taco Bell parking lot. I know that's a controversial take. I wouldn't do it at Waffle House either, though. You know, nobody would lie about that. That makes me believe them. Nobody would make up I drove to a Taco Bell parking lot to talk about our relationship as a lie. Or maybe he's a really good liar. I don't know. Anyway. He then dropped her off at the train station. Additionally, he said that he never reported her missing because he thought she just moved on with her life. He also stated that she was dating someone named Mike at the Waffle House where she worked. That's true. And if you get dumped, at least you can have like a Baja Blast or something. The mother was interviewed, stated that she last saw Melissa in September or November. Not October, though. She's sure about that. When Melissa was incarcerated in DeKalb County. Witness Don Peroni, sounds like a Godfather character, stated that he knew both Christopher and Melissa and that Christopher was known to be abusive. A little passive voice at the end there. Kimberly, Christopher's sister, stated that she knew that Christopher and Melissa had problems. That's very specific. Kimberly stated that Melissa wrote her a letter prior to her disappearance saying that she was leaving Chris. So it does seem like she left him. The daughter of Melissa and Christopher, Christina, was interviewed and stated that she recalled her father stating that he could get away with murder. I'm not going to get into this right now, but there's a whole explanation for that. During a follow-up interview with Christina, she detailed suspicious activity on the part of Christopher. This is actually really interesting. Suspicious activity on the part of Christopher around the time of her mother's disappearance. We don't know when she disappeared. We have no idea. So, how can she say that it was around the time of the disappearance? Oh yeah, totally near. So she remembers the point in time when her mother disappeared? No, you don't. First of all, she was like 3 at the time. But her mother had been in and out of jail, and she had also been living with Mike from Waffle House. So the 3-year-old child isn't going to know the difference between, death and just jail if she doesn't come back because they're 3. According to Christina, it was almost the day that her mother went missing when she noticed that the pictures of her mother were taken down in the residence. Well, maybe it's because she left to go be with Mike. So, that would be why the husband would take the pictures down. She also recalled her father making suspicious statements throughout her childhood. I think you already said that. Did they just say that right here? This is just the same thing. Yeah, I know, Aaron. In particular, Christopher would tell her that he knew how to get away with murder. He said the key is to hide the remains. But, he didn't, though, because he just took them to his place of work, or his former place of work. So he didn't even, try to hide them. He went through all that, effort and then just took them to work. Lastly, Christopher would also tell Christina that he had a place to go when he needed to go on the run. He never went on the run. So that doesn't really help either. Diane Parrott, she witnessed Christopher and Melissa arguing a lot and observed bruises. Mike Dixon was interviewed and stated that he first met Melissa in September of 98. Wait a minute, that's the same time that the mother would have seen. That doesn't matter. During this period, they became involved in a relationship. He recalled getting into an argument with a male who he believed was her boyfriend, driving a yellow Volkswagen Beetle. It's going to be tough, getting out to a fight from a Volkswagen Beetle. Anyway, he recalled Melissa coming to pick up her check in December of 98, and that was the last time he saw her. He stated that Christopher was waiting outside of the car at the time. Maybe outside of the restaurant is what they meant. Melissa had a close relationship with her mother and her sister. During the years leading up to her disappearance, Melissa described the abuse that she endured at the hands of Christopher. Norma also informed investigators that Melissa planned on leaving Christopher and that she was now dating someone that she had become pregnant with. Okay, so they were like definitely separated. Melissa's sister Tina also spent time with Melissa during the year of her disappearance. We don't know what year she disappeared. Oh, for sure, Kat. Tina informed investigators that she worked with Melissa at Waffle House and would constantly see Melissa with marks and bruises. Tina also told investigators that during the summer of 98, she observed Melissa with hand marks around her neck as if someone had choked her. When Tina asked Melissa about the marks, she informed her that Christopher had been physically abusing her for a while. According to Tina, Melissa wanted to leave but didn't believe Christopher would let her take the children. Actually, the law wouldn't let her take the children. This is just getting into some of the evidentiary stuff, but this is one of my favorite parts. This is the part that got me hooked on this case. So they're going into law here. So this is all copy and paste, right? They're just copying and pasting the law. The trial court should consider the totality of the circumstances. You probably want to like underline the whole thing. Typically, hearsay testimony by close, personal friends of the unavailable declarant are admissible under the necessity exception. In the case at hand, Androni had a close relationship with his cousin and uncle. When interviewed, the two men disclosed that they kept in contact with Androni Stanley leading up to his death and discussed personal matters with him on a regular basis. So, every victim matters. Remember that. That's what Fanny said. Therefore, state gives notice to opposing counsel of his intention to present the hearsay statements made to Norma and Tina. They got their address right. That's a step up. But yeah, they forgot to change the names there. And they won this motion too. They're like this because they don't know any better. And like somebody has to be like, you know, the antagonist to my story. I'm the main character. Atlanta just exists for, you know, me to win glory, really. And yeah, this case is unhinged. It makes no sense. There's this article, there's like somebody named CSI Atlanta that's not a CSI in Atlanta. All right, I know what I want to show next. I went through Discovery and I looked this up. That's incredibly small. I'm going to slide this over. So these are all the dates in which Christopher interacted with the police. There we go. In 2024, he had a extended interview with the Atlanta Police Department. In 2023, he voluntarily gave a DNA swab. 2021, he had a 2-hour interview at his house. The police came to his house and he talked to them for 2 hours voluntarily. They didn't have to like go in with like the Secret Service and Godzilla and the Apex unit and the sheriff's office and I don't know, John Cena or something. They just knocked on the door and then he's like, "Hey, come in." And then they came in and they like talked for 2 hours. It was incredible. And then there's another interview in 2003. Polygraph. He voluntarily took a polygraph in 2003, and he had an interview with the police in 2001. So he's actually been cooperating with the police for virtually the duration of this entire case, as opposed to trying to get away with stuff. I don't know why I picked John Cena. I don't even like watch wrestling. I just thought of somebody like Hulk Hogan's the first one that came into my head. I was like, don't say that. You're going to get canceled. So the John Cena is like, I guess, the modern day, you know, equivalent. I shouldn't say that either. I'm going to get sued by John Cena. He does talk to the police a lot, it seems. Have we figured out the wheelchair yet? Have we gotten a correct, like a solid answer on that? All right, what dumb thing do you want to look at next? Let's get a resume. I like this one. So this is Dr. I don't know, Gilbo, I guess. Let's slide this over. If you do not receive any of the above checked items, please contact the prosecutor immediately. There's no checks. Okay. So this is the expert, I guess, medical examiner witness. And his email address is dograncher63@yahoo.com or markgilbo@claytoncountyga.gov. That's also not how you do addresses, but we don't need to worry about that. And prior to his current job, he was working as a part-time funeral home assistant as a certified crematory operator. He's an anthropology consultant. His PhD is in anthropology. The analysis of saw marks in bone. Maybe he did it. Have we looked at this guy? Oh, this is a funny typo. They just added +6. They've used this exact general background like 30 times, but in this one they just added a random +6 into the middle of the document. I don't know why they did that. This guy, Marlon Sutton, he was added to the witness list a week ago. Let me see. It's this one right here. Even though he was literally the responding officer to the domestic violence case that's underlying everything, he's probably like one of the 3 or 4 most relevant people in the entire case. And you'll notice, I believe Cindy Brock was also called today. She didn't remember anything, but you know. Yeah, you're supposed to get it 10 days in advance of trial. And he was involved in something in 1998. And they still, in the, let me see, it was July of 98. So I was I was 10. I hadn't even turned 11 yet. And so my entire adult life, they've had to put Marlon Sutton on a witness list. Like college, the time I was pretending to go to law school, they had decades to finish this 10 days in advance of trial. And they still couldn't do it. Sorry about that. But again, this is another thing. This is not a cold case issue. This is a brain issue. They had decades. And it's only 3. It's Marlon Sutton. You don't even need to put the detective on there. You can get rid of the APD. It's fine. It's just Marlon Sutton. You just have to type that up. What else do I have? State's amended witness list. This is 2 weeks ago. They're adding 3, I'm assuming DNA experts, whatever these letters are. in the fake FBI. Also, what is this? You could have just copy and pasted it. It's like they're doing nothing would have been fine. Oh, this is a fun bit. I think. Oh, here we go. There's some factual detail. Oh, Matthew, that's a good call. Okay, guys, I get it. I'm stupid. So yeah, June 20, 1996, Melissa stated her express intent to give custody of her children to Kathy. At the time, Melissa stated to Kathy she did not want her parents to have anything to do with the children because of Melissa's experiences with her family. On July 20th, 98, Melissa repeated these statements when Melissa signed a relinquishment of parental rights and named Kathy Wolfenbarger as the permanent guardian of her two children. So, no judgments. I mean, sometimes that's the responsible thing to do. I'm sure it was difficult to do, but the notion that she would never abandon her children kind of loses some steam, given that she had legally given up custody. She didn't want the children anywhere near her parents. You know, they did some light murder. 4 or 5 of them. It happens. But, you might not want kids around them. There is another witness. She said that they argued, but she never saw it get physical. And she's not the sister of the victim, so she's a little bit more detached. Not to say that she's right and the sister is wrong, but it's interesting. I actually confirmed this on Google Maps today. The victim's remains were found in front of a different business called Eunice Unlimited. That's the address. They say Action Glass, but the address they give is to Eunice Unlimited, which is a completely different business. So it wasn't even found directly in front. Yeah, the parents of the victim, the father killed, I think, 5 people, and the mother helped him hide the bodies of, I think, 4 or 3 of them or something. Maybe less than that. Maybe 2. I think it was 2, actually. And she testified against the father for immunity. So, they might not be the best babysitters, I guess I would say. How is she not in jail? Yeah, I think she should. She's... Yeah, I don't argue that's just watching. I mean, I get what you're saying. I need to get this. Motion in limine. Anything good here? Nah. Oh, here we go. We get an affidavit here. Oh God, this page. I talked with the cat about this one already. This is our expert witness. This is some expert witness stuff we're gonna get into. So I guess this. I'm not trying to downplay whether this is true. I haven't studied this, but this resume hurts me. Okay. So this is the expert witness on, I guess, domestic violence. She's been working on her PhD for 6 years now, I guess. Master's from UCF, Bachelor of UCF. She's a registered clinical social worker intern in the state of Florida. From August of 2014 to present. Wait, is there a gap here? Anyway. The world is on fire. That's exactly what I was thinking. Let's go down to the bottom here. Okay, first of all, I don't know what this is supposed to be, but... So, first job. Grant implementation and reporting, planning and implementation of youth and adult activities, data entry, public speaking. Okay. Developed and implemented a case management program, assist residents, supervision and training of social work interns, manage social workers, facilitates support groups, broker of community services or resources, which, okay, that's fair enough. She's a therapist from January of 14 to August of 15. Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Very good. Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Training coordinator in Decatur. And now she worked for the Fulton County District Attorney's Office for 3.5 years, I guess. And now they're hiring her as an expert. So they hired her previously, and now they're using her as their expert. Build capital C capacity of bystanders to support survivors and hold batters accountable. Ensured survivors received a risk assessment. She always does this. I don't understand. Like, what is this? She capitalizes public speaking every time. Okay, anyway, that doesn't matter. In presentations to create awareness about IPV, collected and analyzed 10 years of domestic violence homicide data in Fulton County, developed community partnerships with local law enforcement, crisis interventions, testifying. See, this is what confuses me right here. Like, you're an employee of the prosecutor. How can you be testifying as an expert in a criminal trial? Like, you're on the prosecutor. You're literally on the prosecutor. The prosecutor is paying you twice, like your salary and your expert. I don't know. Anyway, Your Honor, she should be admitted as an expert because I worked with her once and I liked her. That's pretty much how it goes. I hate the way experts are admitted. Does Fonnie know her? I'm sure there's a joke there. I just can't think of it. Director of Legal Advocacy. I guess we're only... This was submitted in 2025, but... Actively lead and coordinate effort to identify and combat domestic violence. The legal advocacy programs. Grant writing. There's no way someone other than Hilton directs this witness. Yeah, that's probably right. I don't know how she's gonna come across though. Especially if the defense asks her, hey, did you ever work with the prosecutor? And they say yes. I don't know. Especially on a case like this where it's been decades and the incidents weren't particularly well documented. So she's not going to have a lot of original data to work off of. Nothing here. What do I have next? Oh, right. I didn't look all the way through this, but this is when Melissa Wolfenbarger was a black woman who was born in 1977. Did they look at the mom and the dad? Not really. They said that they cleared the dad, but they don't know when or how or where it happened, so I don't know how you can clear anybody if you have no idea what happened. Frank Lima. Mark Lavender. Mark Lavender is a good name. On Wednesday, July 9th at approximately 9:30, Tony Lima was requested by Calhoun to process a residence with luminol. July 8th, 2003, Lima was telephonically... I love police reports. Hey, Mama. Lexi. Aaron. You've been here, but you were the next name on my list. Yeah, and the dad killed his uncle, so he killed a family member previously. So it's not like, he was like a gang enforcer or something. He killed people he didn't know. Like, he did kill family members. Detective Cal... Okay, this is actually something that I thought was interesting. Detective Calhoun informed Agent Lima that when the victim's head was located, there were several different types of paint located in the victim's hair. I didn't remember hearing anything about that. But remember, this is in 2003. Detective Calhoun requested that Agent Lima search the house for any types of paints that were similar in color to the paint chips that were located in the victim's hair. But it's been years, so you don't even know if those were the paint colors at the time of the killing, if there was a killing. Agent Lima and Detective Calhoun agreed to meet at the residence. Didn't you just say you said the residence at? Okay, you've only said it once. So I'll let it slide. Okay. Oh, right. I don't think that's a name. I'm going to be honest with you. But Detective David Quinn, some of you may remember from YSL. So the next day, July 9th, at approximately 9:30, a couple of GBI agents arrived at Brookline for the purpose of meeting with Calhoun. A bunch of names in bold. Okay. Agent Lima photographed the exterior and interior. After photographing the exterior and interior, Lima began describing the interior and exterior of the residence. I love police reports. Okay, we're not reading all of this nonsense. There were numerous plants, a television set, 2 sofas, perhaps sectionals. Let's see here. So nothing. The walls were generally a white or off-white color. Fantastic. These steps were gray colored. The basement. If I counted the steps, there are 8 steps leading downward from the landing area to the floor area of the basement. Agent Lima entered the doorway area, which led into a room that contained several cabinets. The cabinets contained miscellaneous tools. Oh my god, there's so much detail here. Max Sharp would love this. He would be giddy right now. I should send him this. We're still just describing the rooms. We get several old dog kennels and a clothesline, which contain numerous clothes. Okay, here we go. While Agent Lima was describing and photographing the residence, Agent Cox dug up an area that was located below 2 cinder blocks in the basement. The area was located on the northwest side of the steps, located in the basement area. The area is the room located below the residence. That is what a basement is. Agent Cox noticed that the 2 concrete blocks were loose, and he dug 18 inches deep and sifted through the dirt, searching for any bones or signs of evidence. He did not locate any identifiable items of evidence. Agent Cox began obtaining samples of paint from all rooms located inside the residence. Let me see here. So yeah, they took paint samples. Again, I don't even know why that'd be relevant unless you can establish that the house hasn't been painted in the last 3 years. Max would be classy, and I'd be like, no, get that S. Get him. Although that's me with most lawyers, really. I probably talk more than I should. After spraying the upstairs bathroom, Agent Lima sprayed the basement area below the 824. That's just what a basement is. You don't have to say below every time. Okay. Sprayed the ceiling area and the walls, but did not locate any areas that appeared to react with luminol. That means blood. There's no blood. He sprayed the wooden beam That sounds like a euphemism. That was located on top of the brick that ran from the northwest to the southeast. They did find a little blood, maybe, on one of the steps, but again, this was years after they had moved out of the house, as far as I know. So they took a sample of that, but that's all they had. That was the search warrant. All right, let's go. Defendant's motion to compel. This is where it starts to get good. This is the incomplete discovery. Included in the discovery is a 14-page police department supplemental report with dates running from March 14, 2003 to May 9, 2003. The report is unsigned, but Detective Calhoun had been assigned the case on March 14, 2003, and presumably compiled the report. Page 3 notes that Major Bruce Jordan, that's another good name, the Fayette County Sheriff's Office. Why are they searching her residence for cadaver dogs in 2003? That was... okay, doesn't matter. District Attorney has not included any files from the Fayette County Sheriff's Department or from Major Bruce Jordan's retired investigation. Yeah, that's right, Aaron. I completely agree. Second, an APD supplemental report from June 29, 1999, and signed by Investigator Kelly, states that the crime lab and ME's office both concluded that DNA tests could not be performed because it had been soaked in bleach. The ME stated that she had personal knowledge that part of the remains had been soaked in bleach and would check to see about the rest. No result of this check or further information have been soaked in bleach or of who is responsible appear anywhere in the discovery. That just seems like they didn't know. Let me see. They searched the residence at 824, including... oh, I just read this. Including taking pictures of both the exterior and interior. The discovery does not include these photographs. Agent Lima spent so much time describing and photographing that basement. That's below the house. And they didn't include any of those pictures. An APD report dated April 30, 99, and signed by Officer W.S. Ricker, which sounds like an oil baron, states that on April 28th is a date that haunts me. Officer Ricker obtained a statement from Mr. Charles Mulder. There are no further records of this statement in discovery. Fifth, the discovery contains information in an audio file of an interview of witness Stacy Kirkland, former manager at Waffle House in Doraville, Georgia. Man, imagine if that's like the only time you're mentioned in a court filing. Like, Stacy Kirkland could be like, I don't know, maybe she's like a mogul now, but in this filing, she's still just former manager at Waffle House in Doraville, Georgia. Retired Major Bruce Jordan. That's such a great name. Okay, let's keep going. There's another motion to compel now. This was, let me see here, was it the same day? Oh, it's the same time. Where are the police reports? I've always wanted to be able to say, like, steam coming off my bald head like Max. That's so cool. All right, Mr. Wolfenbarger filed a motion to compel. Detective Shepard's investment... wait, what? Mr. Wolfenbarger informed the court of the existence and nature of the alleged communication. Its acquisition by police in 2017. I don't know what they're talking about. I have no idea what this is addressing. His memorialization of it in a summary investigation report 2 weeks prior to arresting Mr. Wolfenbarger. Defense counsel has since learned that Detective Shepard openly provided a copy of the police report of the... okay, this is a... so one of Wolfenbarger's... his pastor actually went to the police and gave information to the police about the investigation. So apparently he felt like he had something, and he actually broke like the religious confidentiality rule. I don't know if that's like applicable to him, but it's inadmissible in court, and so that actually got suppressed. And the Fulton County, the prosecutors agreed to suppress the statements that Wolfenbarger made to his pastor. So credit to them. Credit where credit's due. Yeah, I mean, this trial it's just so stupid that it's hard to be motivated. It's not like there's a puzzle that I'm trying to solve of, like, piecing together these motions and figuring something out. It's just like, it's just dumb. There's nothing to figure out because there's no case. Defense counsel learned that Detective Shepard openly provided a copy of the police report of the pastor in the privileged communication to a state's witness on May 12th, 2021. That's not great. Detective Shepard was surprised when the witness related that she had already been provided a copy of that information by 2 journalists she had been working with. How did these Oh, this is definitely the mom. That's absolutely what this is. That has to be right, because she's the one that's been working with the journalist, or the sister. It's one or the other. How did these journalists acquire a copy of the police report of the incident? It could only come from police or the DA, but this means that someone in the police department DA's office leaked privileged communications to the press. Then Detective Shepard tried to use the, he tried to basically use what he had learned from the pastor to, like, get Wolfenbarger to waive privilege. But that didn't work. We don't need to get into this nerd stuff. I assume it's right. Is the mom or the daughter or both doing the Netflix? Probably the daughter. I really don't like any of them. I'm going to be getting to the media's coverage of this case once I get through a few more of these. Because there's somebody named... There's like a Zone 7? There's somebody called CSI Atlanta that's like cosplaying as a crime scene investigator. And she thinks her podcast like broke open this case, even though nothing broke and nothing's open, and there's no case. It's a Nancy Grace thing. We'll get to it. All right, nothing there. Let's see. State's notice of intent. I think we looked at this because it was the thing with the cool name. Zone 7. I wouldn't keep listening to it. This is Cap County Jail. This is the same stuff I've read 800 times. Tina Patton. Is it Tina? I heard Kat saying Tina. I don't want to get it wrong. Defendant had a pending criminal case in which Melissa was a witness. Maybe that depends on when the killing happened. There's Lexi. My theory. I really don't think that there's anything has changed. They've been like the media coverage has been that like there's been some break in the case, and there's some like I don't know if there's been some crazy hint or tip that's changed everything. But I don't think anything's changed. I think this is just the same case that it was 20 years ago. But, like, no, that's it. That's all. It's just the same case that it was 20 years ago. And I agree. I mean, Chris was, like, not a good dude. Nobody would, I think, disagree with that. But, again, we don't even know when she died or how she died or where she died. It's hard to prove murder if you don't know any of those things. Defendant borrowed a motorized saw from his job in February of '99 and never returned it. Again, this saw thing was driving me crazy today. It doesn't matter. Like, he was a contractor, so he's going to have a saw. And, like, I'm sure he had access to other saws if he really needed one. And also, if he borrowed it in February, I said this before, if you borrowed it in February, but the last time she was seen in December, and then nothing's found until April, you have like multiple months where nothing's happening. Why would the tip lead to Love going to the scene? What else would explain Love driving past the city? I think Love saw the opportunity to frame somebody from the 90s, and that's one of her favorite things to do. The podcast host said she received a tip about someone witnessing some behavior and passed the tip along to police. I don't believe that there's any tip. Actually, you know what? Now's a great time to go into something. This is a really funny one. Let me see. Where are you? This one? No. There is. So the problem is that they don't know what confidential means or anonymous means. And so there's like a report where they're like, everybody's anonymous, and then they name them all. And it's really funny. Where are you? No. Is it this one? Yes. Wow, first try. Look at that. The following is a summary of an anonymous interview completed via telephone. The following is only a summary and not verbatim. On April 29th, 2024, I spoke with Ms. Carly Maxwell via phone regarding the Wolfenbarger case. Ms. Maxwell requested to remain anonymous. And they filed this. The call was audio recorded and lasted 23 minutes and 13 seconds. However, due to file corruption, the recording stopped at 1 minute and 23 seconds. That's not how file corruption works in any context. It's not like, you know, like the road gets blown up 5% of the way through. But the first 5% is fine. Like the file's corrupted. She said Love came out to the scene and promised she would help Norma solve this case. You know, there are a lot of people that like seem to be new to Fulton County. I don't know if any of you are watching this, but I need you to understand that Fulton County, it's not even like corruption. It's just like, that's just what they do. They just want convictions. And like, it doesn't even matter if like the person's guilty or, you know, anything. They think that like solving the case is getting conviction. It's the same thing. Even if there's no crime, they're like, I'll solve this crime. And then the victim says there was no crime. And then Love says, I'm going to solve it anyway. Oh yeah, Aaron, I didn't show that, did I? Or did I? We'll get to that. Anyway, Miss Maxwell said that she knew Christopher Wolfenbarger and his former girlfriend during the 2010s. That's very specific. She recalled overhearing an argument between Christopher and his partner, during which he allegedly said, "Do you know what happened to my first wife?" That's a really weird threat. What if she doesn't? And why would she? Anyway, no additional context regarding the statement was provided. Well, there was. It was just during the, let me see here, 21 minutes and 50 seconds. That would have been the context. It's just that the incredibly incriminating portion of the phone call just happened to be in the first 1 minute and 23 seconds of the phone call. That the file was corrupted, of course. Actually, let me fix this right here. Let me just, hold on. I can fix this real quick. There we go. I fixed that. We're good to go. This sounds like a really weird flex, I gotta say. I knew Christopher Wolfenbarger and his former girlfriend. The undersigned, being duly sworn, deposes and states that the foregoing is true, correct, complete, and legible. Detective J. Shepard. That's corrupt as fuck. 11th day, February 2025. Even though the phone call was on April 29th, 2024. So he didn't do the report for almost a full year. After he didn't do it, you know, until the indictment came down, 2025. So I was like, oh, the indictment, now I've got to come up with some evidence. I need to, you know. Why didn't he speak with her again? Oh man, I hope nobody sees this. Sometimes I forget that I have like a pro hawk that I need to not lose. Let's see here. What do we got? Notice 10 hearsay. Ooh, I guess, where was the... I want to show the Adrian Love one real quick, because I don't want anyone to miss out on that. Where are you? Not you. Probably not you. Definitely not you. Is it this one? No, it's this one. Okay, I don't know how many people are watching, but is anyone here like new to Fulton County? Because I got some stuff. I've occasionally I have some beef with some people in Fulton County, some of whom are on the prosecutor team in this case. Andron Stanley is cool. We get no problem with him. Okay, there's another thing that I want to talk about that sounds like I'm being difficult, but it's actually true. We really have no idea that whether Marissa, I was getting in trouble there, whether Melissa Wolfenbarger was actually killed. It's the most likely possibility, but if they're like, I have no idea if she did drugs, but there could be like an overdose, and then people panicked and wanted to dump the body. Oh God, Carlson and Carlson on evidence on Carlson. Ugh. When I found that, I thought it was a mistake. That was the only explanation. Okay. Gorgeous mom disappears after family dinner. What happened to Mel? That is just super not what happened. I don't know why there's a YouTube video. And why, if we're going to have a YouTube video, there's no DJ Academics video. No memes. Tell the chat about Carlson. Okay. Where do I even be? Okay, so there's a lawyer, if you can call him a lawyer. What's his name? John Carlson? Michael Carlson? It doesn't matter. His name's Carlson. And supposedly he knows so much about RICO statutes in Georgia. And so he was actually in private practice during the YSL case. He had previously worked for Fulton County DA's office, but they hired him to litigate certain parts of the RICO statute for, I think, like hundreds of thousands. I have the numbers somewhere. I can find them. But they paid him like insane amounts of money. And actually, I think I can show something that will explain this part very well. But it's basically, what did Doug call it? The highest law in the land, Carlson on evidence. They love citing to this guy's writing, even though he's not like a judge. They just, they think that he's the greatest lawyer of all time. So they just, no. See, this is the Carlson thing. This is my beef with Carlson. And this isn't even that many. Like, look, it's just Carlson everywhere. It's Carlson's all the way down. And you have to go really far down to get to the last of them. For further detail, authority, and analysis in this regard, see Carlson, Cook, and Carlson, Trial Handbook for Georgia Lawyers, subsection 7, 1-4, 2020-21 edition, Carlson and Carlson, opening statement, making it stick, Georgia Bar, Journal, Volume 9, Number 1, pages 18 to 23. Get fucked. Seriously. Opening statement, making it stick? That's what you're going to cite to? Opening statement, making it stick. For authority in this regard. That's not authority. That's just this jackass's son and some guy named Cook just being idiots in writing. Being an idiot in writing doesn't make you an academic. Academic again. Matthew McClellan. With both parents being murdering George, you wouldn't know if it was roast pig or roast long pig on the table either. Wow. That was Evocative. DJ Wacademics getting shout out. I hate academics, and I always have, but I've hated him even more lately. But yeah, Carlson and Carl. If I ever say Carlson and Carlson on evidence, this is what I'm referencing. Doug Weinstein famously called. He made fun of the state and YSL for, like, look at this, for their reliance on YSL or on Carlson, and he made a joke that they thought that Carlson was the highest law in the land. Carlson and Carlson. I like this apostrophe, actually. It's kind of funny. Carlson's Guide to Evidence Authentication, Essential Foundations for Georgia Advocates. Overruled on another grounds. Good job. Good work. I hate this so much. I hate everything about this. Okay, so we won't send Carlson and Carlson Publications to your non-existent P.O. box. Thank you. Oh, right. The main point. So, this is funny. So, Fonnie Willis purchased, how many was it, Kat? Like 150 copies of Carlson on Evidence? And it was like 50 grand. It was like tens of thousands of dollars. They're wrong. Mr. Carlson has no idea what he's talking about. He's wrong. He wasn't here. And just to throw around a name because he wrote a book is not applicable. You're goddamn right. Yeah, they spent like six figures on his book, even though like it's 2025 and no lawyers use books. There was somebody who, I made fun of them for this, and there's somebody who clearly works in the office who was like offended by this. And so they like tried to defend the thing. And they're like, no real lawyer would say bad things about books. And I said, it's the same thing. It's just a digital version. And they said, well, I know, but it's ridiculous. Oh, God. I'm still mad about that person. Effective. This is so stupid. I hate them so much. How to outrageous opponents. How to stop them in closing argument. Georgia Bar Journal, Volume 6. Never seen that one before. That's kind of funny. That's your expert right there. Hey, Ketchup. Defense's Service of Reciprocal Discovery on the day of trial authorized the court to exclude defense witnesses. Yeah, that's that. Thank you. We don't. Why did I let Kat get me worked up about this? I don't even care about Carlson. Look at this shit. Look at this. Guide to Evidence Authentication, Essential Foundations for Georgia Advocates. I hate them so much. Look at this. How many Carlsons do you need? Trial Handbook for Georgia Lawyers. Carlson and I'm Winklereed, Dynamics of Trial Practice. Successful Techniques for Civil Trials. That has nothing to do with any of this. You haven't accepted that Carlsons tend toward infinity. They do. I can't even find the contents of Georgia Bar Journal online to check the citations. Yeah, I mean, there haven't been any problems with fabricated citations lately. Look at this. It's gone. All the Carlsons are gone. Nope. Authority in support of this motion can be found at Carlson on Evidence, comparing Georgia and federals. No, you can't. It's just a guy named Carlson and another guy named Carlson just talking. They're just yapping. That's not authority. He's my nemesis. Oh, God. Really excited to file our brief in Mingting's case soon. It's been so long. Let's see. Anything else good, or should we move on to the Brian Steele motion? These are all the witnesses that have died since the crime that are no longer here. Troy Keyes, Mary, Consolidated Motions, Discovery, Other Discovery. I'm curious what problems you saw with the media articles. That's a good idea. I didn't get to, I was going to said I was going to do that. All right, where are we? Okay, here we are. Zone 7. How the capture of a serial killer father led to solving his daughter's murder case. It didn't. It didn't at all. It doesn't even make sense. I don't even know how that would be possible. Okay, show bookmarks bar. There we go. We can't see if you want us to. Yeah, sorry, I was just seeing it now. Here we go. There are pens here. I don't know why. Ooh, I got a new one. There's another new one I'm going to get. This is a retro 50. It's from the Metropolitan Museum of Art collection. It's like a based on a Chinese painting, and they put it on the pen. Yeah, I'm the only person that cares about this. This one, it doesn't come in fine point like the regular, like the one you get when you order it, but you can get a fine point. Okay. Melissa Wolfenbarger, a 21-year-old married mother of two, had been missing for 4 years before her remains were finally identified. That's true. But decades passed, and the identity of a killer remained a mystery until now. Crime scene investigator Cheryl Mack McCollum tells Andrea Cavalier how her podcast, with help from experts, the media, and the victim's serial killer dad, helped crack the case wide open. There are going to be some rants in this one. This is probably going to take like an hour to get through. When working on a cold case, there is no guarantee that a murder will be solved, especially if it's not a murder case. That makes it a lot harder to solve a murder. Like if you have a cold case that's like a burglary, it's going to be really hard to guarantee that you solve a murder. And even if it is, it often takes years or even decades. That is what a cold case is. That's just definitionally true. In the case of Atlanta mother Melissa Wolfenbarger, it took 25 years with the help of a podcast, also the FBI, and in a bizarre twist, her serial killer father. Now, loved ones and supporters have traveled to Fulton County Courthouse in August of 2025 for a long-awaited trial they hope finally brings justice. Finally, we are starting the trial that we have been waiting 26 years for. Melissa's sister, Tina Patton, wrote on Facebook, adding #justice for Melissa Wolfenbarger. The 21-year-old was last heard from by her family on Thanksgiving 1998. I don't think they know that, though, because the state said that the last time the mother had any contact with the daughter was either September or November. So apparently at some point in the last 20 years, it's definitely become the case that they heard from her on Thanksgiving 1998. So, that's just, I don't blame the author for not getting that, though. Her dismembered remains were found 5 months later in close proximity to her husband's place of work. That's not true because he didn't work there at the time. He hadn't been there for several months, and they weren't found at the same time, so it was 5 and 7. It was 2003 before the remains were identified as Melissa, only after her father, Carl Patton, was arrested for a string of unrelated killings from the 1970s, known as the Flint River murders. There are actually more murders than just that. He killed people to cover up those murders. His arrest is what finally identified her remains. How? How does that make any sense? How did his arrest finally identify her remains? Have I ever worked with any of the lawyers that are on this case? With? No. Against? Maybe. How did his arrest finally identify her remains? If he had never been arrested, we might have never known. He can take a DNA test at any time. He just didn't want to. Melissa's death was not at the hands of her father, who had been cleared in her murder. No, he hasn't. They don't know when, how, where, why. How do you clear somebody like that? But what happened to her and the identity of her killer remained a mystery for decades. They've always thought that it was Christopher. Melissa's case only began to gain some traction in 2017 when crime scene investigator Cheryl Mac McCollum got her hands on it after the slain woman's mother came to her for help. Wow, I sure hope I don't have just a ton of filings to look at to show how ridiculous that statement is. Let's see. Which one do I want to show? This one, maybe? Let me see here. Not that one. This one? Here we go. This one, and I think this one? No. Here we go. This is what we're... So there was nothing done until 2017, until this lady had a podcast. She calls herself a crime scene investigator, but she doesn't really investigate crime scenes. But let me see here. Let me switch back to PDF real quick. Here we go. Here's some stuff that had happened. 1999, there were all these cases. The FBI was involved in 2005, 2007, again in 2007, and 21. Let me see here. We have Michael Sprinkle working with the VCR tape interviews. I'm not making any comment about VHS tapes. I'm not going to make a comment about why this weird, I don't even know what you call that, isn't whatever. In 2015, interview with Diane Parrott. Interview with Karen Tucker, 2015. Sergeant Lacoste in 2015. Christina Wolfenbarger in 2015. Interview with Pastor Mike Carson. That was the pastor that broke confidentiality. No, we don't need to go through every one of these things, but saying that the case didn't take off until 2017 when she got involved is bold. Where are you? Here's some more. We have cleaned up tapes. We just have the name Marissa Wolfenbarger, apparently. Copies of documents from other counties, jail calls, YouTube. There's just all kinds of stuff that happened before 2017. But she has a podcast, so, we'll get back to that real quick. Okay. Melissa's case only began to gain some traction in 2017 when crime scene investigator Cheryl Mac McCollum got her hands on it after the slain woman's mother came to her for help. You can't give up, you just keep going. Talk to anyone who will listen because you don't know who that person might be to help. That's what Cheryl did for us. She opened the door and helped us walk through it. Again, this woman was an accessory to multiple murders and helped dispose of bodies. But, how does the father's arrest help with Melissa's case? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. He only gave up his DNA. The father only gave his DNA once he was doing a life sentence. So he didn't really have any personal risk at that point. Let's see. Melissa's case was the first one to be featured on McCollum's podcast Zone 7 when it launched in February of 2023. In a stunning turn of events, over a year later, in April 20... Oh, that's who the secret person was. That has to be it, right? That was the same... Wasn't that the same time? The confidential person? The call. Where are you? What's her face? The call... one of these, I think? April 29th, 2024, I spoke with Miss Carly Maxwell via phone regarding the Wolfenbarger case. Ms. Maxwell requested to remain anonymous. This has to be it, right? You can't see anything that I'm looking at right now. I just had a great idea. Okay, here we go. So, she said that there was a tip in April of 24 that blew everything up, right? In a stunning turn of events, over a year later, in April 2024, a listener who heard the episode reached out to McCollum and shared a crucial bit of information. I had a gut feeling, McCollum said, recalling the moment she received the tip. That has to be this, right? File corruption. Oh, wait, I should do this one too, actually. I hate this. This is absurd. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's... How are you going to say there's no context? It's right there. You... Did the mom say they swabbed her cheek for DNA? Yeah, fun fact. Christopher was actually I believe the first one. No, that's not true. He did give a voluntary DNA sample and a voluntary polygraph, even though those aren't real. So realistically, like, Christopher has been the most forthcoming with his DNA of anybody in the case. I did not understand why the dad's DNA ID'd her. Neither do biologists. Okay. I think I'm bad at switching back and forth between these things. Melissa's case was the first one to be featured. There was a stunning turn of events. I had a gut feeling. She told The Independent that the person had witnessed behavior between the couple, but said she could not give further details because there are none. McCollum sent the information to the lead detective, and after more than 2 decades of no answers, the case picked up steam and shot through the next few months at lightning speed. They have nothing happened. They just decided to charge it. 3 months later, Melissa's husband, Christopher, was arrested and indicted by a grand jury for her murder. I was just tickled pink. We waited so long for this. It's been a long, hard road, but it finally happened. I haven't been this happy since I killed people. Oh, sorry, I added that part at the end. What happened to Melissa? Melissa was last heard from on Thanksgiving 1998 when she called her family to make plans for Christmas. That's not true. She was seen on December 10th. There was no phone call and she never showed up. I immediately panicked, although you don't know whether it was September or November. But she was an adult, married with kids. Didn't really have kids anymore. Not much we could do. But when my birthday came and went with no call, I knew something was very wrong. Yeah, you're kind of murdered people, so she might want to talk to you. After Norma's missed birthday, they drove to Melissa's house in Atlanta, but the Wolfenbarger family was gone. Neighbors told them they had moved away, but their address was unknown. The family reported Melissa missing. Wait, what? I don't know if this is canonical. I'm doing wine and crime minus the wine. It's Friday, isn't it? I don't know some wine. He told police that Melissa had left on her own, that's objectively true, to pursue her dream of starting a new life in California. I don't think that's shown up anywhere in any filings. The Atlanta Police Department told Dateline, giving information about an active case, a pending case, as you know, as a professional police department does. On April 29th, a blah blah blah. In proximity to Wolfenbarger's place of work. Again, that's not true because he left in February. More remained. The remains were not identified until 2003, only after Melissa's father was arrested in connection to an unrelated murder. It was several murders, really. DNA testing led to Patton being convicted for the killings of Fred Wyatt. I think it was also the wife testifying against him. He was also a suspect in Melissa's murder, but Tina said her father would have never hurt Melissa. He killed his uncle. Like, he killed family members. He's a sociopath. Like, he's not a good guy. And they're talking about how his nickname was Hotshot today. That's because he always kept a gun on him, and he was always ready to shoot. That's why they call him Hotshot. And they asked, the wife was like, oh, She like laughed when she said that his nickname was Hotshot. She was talking about like killing people, and she was laughing. He was also a suspect in Melissa's murder, but Tina said her father would have never hurt Melissa. Well, that solves it. Love solves all problems. Not all cases, though. But it's his arrest that led to answers. My mom was able to convince... This timeline doesn't make sense. The arrest was in 2003? So how did it lead to answers if you had to wait for 20 years for the podcaster to come along? My mom was able to convince him... You got to give the father credit. He seems like an equal opportunity lifer. It's true. My mom was able to convince him to say something about my sister, and somebody in Atlanta saw it in the paper the next day and said, wait a minute, there's some remains over here in the morgue. That's not... And the address, the vicinities are kind of close to where this girl lived, so let's go get DNA. Somebody in Atlanta saw it in the paper the next day? Like, you can... Okay. They couldn't have gotten a better picture. Like, this guy's terrible, but they could have gotten a better picture than this. Okay. DNA positively identified the remains as belonging to Melissa and cleared Patton of her murder. How? How did it clear him? But Melissa's killer was still out there. And Norma continued to put all her time and effort into getting justice for her daughter. Okay. In 2017, she met McCollum and everything changed. My daughter was beheaded and I need your help. That's going to get some attention. Who will testify? Oh, the dad? No, he's dead. They indicted him like... They knew that the dad was going to be dead when they brought the case. McCollum remembers the exact moment she first saw Norma Patton. It was a formal dinner for a wine and crime event she was hosting. That sounds like a good time. McCollum, who is the founder and director of the Cold Case Investigative Research Institute, often hosts the popular program that takes an in-depth look at unsolved cold cases. Very in-depth. True. While McCollum was on stage talking, she noticed a woman walking into the event wearing Bermuda shorts and a hat, looking like she had literally walked in off the beach. That's so cool. After the event, McCollum said the woman came up to her and said, my daughter was beheaded and I need your help. Again, that's a great opener. Without any hesitation, McCollum agreed to hear her story. And Norma certainly had one to tell, armed with binders full of women, binders full of information. She was ready to talk. But there was a twist. She touched both binders, looked me in the eye, and said, my husband is in prison for murder, and I helped him. Norma had testified against him, which played a substantial role in the case, testified, Bruce Jordan, our guy. It is my opinion she saved the taxpayers a lot of money. Jordan said, adding that he requested the deal that gave Norma immunity from any murder charges relating to the 4 killings, according to local outlets at the time. That's going to save those tax dollars. After hearing Norma's admission, McCollum was not alarmed. Melissa's case is separate from the sins of her father. Maybe. But McCollum said she needed to speak with Patton to do a complete victimology. She didn't even know her daughter. How are you going to do a complete victimology? In 2021, they started corresponding by writing. So 4 years passed? Wasn't this 2017? So she said, my daughter was beheaded. I need your help. And then she's like, I'm definitely going to help you. And then they started writing letters to each other in 2021. The police were working in the background, silently, unseen. I'm sure they were silent. Oh my goodness. This era, the years that, like 98, 99 through like 2003, 2005, the quality of the police work was really bad. Really, really bad. Like there are I found cases on accident from those years that are just a disaster. Okay, what became clear to me was their loyalty, McCollum said. Their loyalty to Carl, their loyalty to each other, and their loyalty to getting justice for Melissa. But only if I have already been arrested and I don't risk anything by sharing my DNA, and definitely no loyalty to the uncle. Aren't all cold cases unsolved? That's true. At least the police tried. Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I do think that the police tried to work this case. I'm sure it seems like they're affected by it. It was clearly a brutal, tough thing to deal with. Let me see. What became clear to me was their loyalty. In the letters, one man is clearly named as the suspected killer, Melissa's husband. Everybody agrees with that. That's always been the case. Through McCollum's own investigation, her correspondence with Melissa's family, and the letters, she had her own theories, but told the Independent that it was time to bring in the experts. This is my favorite part. Because at the end of the day, who cares what I think? But if I have Nancy Grace, whoever this is, telling me it's Wolfenbarger, and they've done their own independent research, they've looked at the case file by themselves, I will stake my reputation on it. Well, if Nancy Grace is on your side. Yeah, this prosecution's a disaster. They don't know what their own theory is. Nancy Grace, exactly. You may know she's a very good lawyer. She's a very good attorney. She, it's just bad DAs and leadership, I think. From what I've seen of cases in Atlanta, they don't do well. It's a problem. It's a big problem. It's at all levels. It's APD. It's the way they try cases. It's one big mess. The jails are a mess. It's a massive problem. It's systemic. It's throughout the system. At that point, a new district attorney was coming to the fore, Fonnie Willis. That's a great sentence. She launched a task force, and McCollum was on it. She would be. One of the first cases on the agenda was Melissa's. The first thing McCollum did was take Assistant District Attorney Adrian Love to the area where Melissa's head had been found, in the close proximity of it to the front door of his business. This is just not true. This is false. Do I have my Microsoft Paint open? Are we going to go to Google Maps or something? Okay, we got to do this real quick. A pink Lambo. Oh, man, where is the address? Actually, no, I can just search for Action Glass, and I can show you. Oh, that's my address. Don't, stalk me, please. Not Action... Damn it. I said address, and I typed address. Here we go. Action Glass. I don't think that's it. Yes, this is it. Okay. So, I'm going to show you where everything is. This part right here. This right here. Can you see my cursor? This right here is where the head was found. It was right here. Actually, no. I think it might have been this one. It was on this road right here. This is Action Glass right here. But the head was like over here. And then the rest of it was found over here. So it wasn't even really it wasn't anywhere near the front door of the business. Copeland's Custom Copeland. Copeland who? He may be guilty. Yeah, I mean, it's been too long. We have no idea. Super mobile truck repair. Okay, so yeah, so the head was over here, the business is here, and he didn't work there. The torso was over here. There was a dog that was pulling stuff around. I believe he said it was a matted, nasty looking thing. All that stuff. Okay, let's go back to the article. The first thing McCollum did was take Assistant District Attorney Adrian Love to the area where Mrs. head had been found and the close proximity of it to the front door of his business. That is critical, she said. You've got to show them. They've got to walk it. What does that even mean? They've got to walk it? You didn't walk it. You weren't there. Adrienne Love doesn't need to see the evidence to try to get a conviction. That's ridiculous. She'd actually prefer there be less evidence so she can just make stuff up. But working the case took time. Justice for Melissa. Melissa's husband was arrested on August 6th. Wasn't it August 8th? A press conference was planned for the next day where his arrest would be announced to the public. Of course it was. The original lead detective on Melissa's case wanted to contact her father himself, but the inmate would not have phone privileges until Thursday. That means he's in some kind of special custody. McCollum told the Independent that Calhoun did not want him finding out on the news. Detective Calhoun cares so much about this multiple-time killer. Yeah, I don't know, Katie. It makes no sense. That is actually really funny, Aaron. Adrienne, she would not be happy about that. That's really funny to picture. Detective Calhoun cares so much about the guy who definitely killed the people. Back in 2003, Detective Calhoun made an effort to tell Patton himself that his daughter's body had been identified. She didn't even like him. I can't decide if this looks innocent or guilty. He's either like, I knew this was coming, or I'm crazy, or he's like, I'm terrified. Christopher Wolfenbarger, pictured in a booking photo, was arrested for the 99 murder of his wife. You don't even know if it was 99. It could have been 98. The arresting officers found him hiding behind a dryer. I thought it was like a wine rack or something. He drove to the prison to tell Carl in person, daddy to daddy. No comment. So this time, the detective went out of his way to call the warden and have someone deliver the... I can't get Moontook on the fucking phone half the time. I have to send an email to somebody. I got to schedule it like 3 fucking days in advance. And then I have to, take time out of my day to specific times, 3 time zones over. And this fucker is just going out of his way to personally drive so he can get the guy who's definitely guilty of killing many people and give him the news about the daughter that he treated like shit. Okay, that had nothing to do with anything. He had been devastated when he found out she had been murdered, but he was deliriously happy as soon as he found out Chris had been arrested. He hated Chris. That is like a decades-long thing. He beat the shit out of Chris once in a parking lot. He's a violent person. He's not a good guy. Detective Shepard. Yeah, he's not... I don't know if he's like changed, but he was not a good dude in the 90s. He'd been devastated. Okay. He'd been devastated when he found out she'd been murdered, but not enough to give a DNA sample until he'd already been caught. Detective Shepard, who took over the case several years ago, said Wolfenbarger had been a person of interest from the beginning, and that probable cause is how they were able to finally make the arrest. That is usually how it works. He's been the suspect from the beginning. Like, that's in a ton of documents. Norma Patton and Tina putting a face on a t-shirt. Picture of press conference on Wednesday wearing shirts honoring Melissa Wolfenbarger. You killed people. Like, stop. When asked what specifically linked Wolfenbarger to the murder, he said, I want to protect the integrity of the case going forward, so I can't disclose certain evidence, but we look at everything when it comes to a cold case. Yes, they don't have any evidence. Nothing changed. Melissa's sister told the media that day that her family always believed Wolfenbarger was responsible. Everybody believes that, but can you prove it? And you don't even know when she died or where or how, or even how she was murdered. From day one, we knew it was Christopher. There was never, ever any doubt in our minds who did this. My mom has said, I don't know how many times, that when she first met him, there was just evil in his eyes. You married a guy that killed like 5 people. You're not an expert on recognizing evil eyes. Both Norma and Tina said they never heard from Wolfenbarger again after Melissa's disappearance. He didn't talk to either of you because you both hated him for years. So he would never have spoken to you even if she hadn't disappeared. Melissa had left her husband the summer before she disappeared. That's not completely true. According to her sister, after saying her husband hit her and dragged her by the hair down a sidewalk. But when Wolfenbarger, it's so hard to say that name so many times. When he went in front of the judge, he asked the judge to let him talk to her alone, and she went back to him. I think she filed the dismissal before that. Go back to the beginning. Oh, hey, Buzzcat. The sister, I'm not going to get into that. That's messed up. It's always been a domestic violence issue from day one. She had already left him because of his abuse. I think she went back to him, but at one point said, I'm going to call my mom and I'm going home. And maybe that's when he lost it. But, like, she was dating somebody else. Like, going to the mom after that isn't going to, like, set him off. More about the sister. She's I'm not going to finish. It's fine. And maybe that's when he lost it. I think she went back to him, but at one point said, I'm going to call my mom and I'm going home. And maybe that's when he lost it. And maybe that's when he lost it. Yeah, that's not going to do it. And like she gave the kids away to her mother-in-law, to Christopher's mom, because she didn't trust her own mom. She's not going to. You don't know what the final straw was. True, that caused him to do what he did to her. He's the only one who has the real answers. Norma tearfully told the crowd that she will finally, after all these years, stop watching the news. I don't have to watch the news anymore because we got him. He's in jail, and Lord help me, he stays there. This woman's insane. Didn't the sister... Yeah, I'm not... Yeah, that... Yeah. Wolfenbarger, who's currently being held in Fulton County Jail, was indicted by grand jury on charge of murder and felony murder. She mixed pink salt with this. Now she can't stomach anything else. Norma has a beef with 11 Alive. I respect her more now. Anyone who wants like a pointless beef is okay in my eyes. I conclude she was insane the moment I found out she helped unalive people. That's also fair. That's probably a smarter take, really. Okay. So this case, there's no timeline. There's like they don't know when she was killed, which takes out all of the suppositions that flow from that. Like if she died in February, that ties in with the Saw, but it doesn't tie in with the Waffle House with Mike being with her in December. If you make it December, the Saw doesn't match. This Saw doesn't matter at all because we have no idea how she was killed. There's the April stuff. Oh, hey, YP. There's the discovery of the head in April. But that doesn't really tie into a February killing, probably. It's really a bit harrowing in this case, except for the victim. The only thing they've done so far is show that everybody except for the defendant is the murderer. Yeah. And I mean, the other thing is, like I've shown, a bunch of documents, and I make fun of them because it's fun, and they deserve it, but they're so sloppy. They're copying and pasting like names from other cases into their filings. Where's the jury, the voir dire questions that were stupid? This one. This one. Nope, not this one. This one? Did I go past it? I think I did. Are any of you related by blood or marriage, third cousins, or closer to the district attorney, Fonnie T. Willis? Ugh. Are any related by blood or marriage, defendant? Where are you? Oh, right, this one. This is the one I was joking about. The victim in this case is Melissa Wolfenbarger. Does any member of the panel know either of her? I made fun of this one too. This isn't a question. I'm glad they used a punctuation mark though. Let's just step up. Oh, there's so much. There's so many things. There's something wrong with everything. Oh, here's one. So this is dental records. I noticed this because, I'm psychotic. This actually isn't her birthday. Oh, that's... This is not Melissa Patton's date of birth. It's off by 7 years. It's actually 77. Wait, no, that's wrong. I'm wrong about something. Disregard that. I'm not sure if that's right. I think I'm right. Let's see, she died in... Yeah, it had to be 77. I was right. So that date of birth is wrong for the dental records. It looks like it's the right one, but I don't know. Yeah, it's 70. It's definitely 77. I just was second guessing myself. This is when she was a child. Maybe one last thing. There's a report that I think is interesting, and is something I was kind of working on today. Where are you? Dental DV on Orange Airport. Yes, this is going to be it. So this is the protective order. I'm pretty sure this is Melissa's handwriting. I'm not positive though. But if this is who had a PO box in the 80s, Hitman. If this is the handwriting, if this is Melissa's handwriting, it wouldn't match with the what was I going to say? The cards, the Mother's Day cards and whatnot. But if you go to this, it's actually somewhat closer to the handwriting in the Mother's Day cards. Hey, Kurnow. Yeah, of course. Always happy to complain about stuff. Looking forward to Monday. Well, nice. Okay. So last thing, I don't know, maybe not last thing, we'll see, is some Brian Steele, because this motion is hilarious. I don't know everything. I haven't figured out everything yet, but there's one thing that's really interesting about it. This one? Yeah, here we go. That way? Yeah. All right. So we know Duke settled. Let me see. How do they get away with such sloppy work? They don't have any oversight. Melissa kept running away. PO box. Yeah. Okay, so this is Brian's motion. I don't know if any of you are following. Well, I know some of you are. I don't know if all of you are following YSL, but there was a civil asset forfeiture brought against Jeffrey Williams and Martinez Arnold, but Martinez Arnold settled today, so it's just Jeffrey Williams, Young Thug now. And... oh, wait, no, this is the wrong one. I need this one. Here we go. This is Brian's. Let me see. Is this any better? Maybe? Yeah, that'll work. Jeffrey Lamar Williams. Procedural history. State filed the complaint on July 7th, 22. The server is going to get through service. On September 27th, 22, the prior court permitted discovery for 90 days from the date of the stay and ordered that these proceedings would be stayed at the conclusion of the 90-day discovery period until the criminal case is resolved as to all criminal defendants. He got almost all of it back, YP. I think he gave up $4,000 and one of his chains and maybe one other thing, but he got the car and most of the jewelry back. All the expensive stuff. On March 17th, 2025, this honorable court issued a rule not side for a May 5th, 2025 trial. On April 1st, the court lifted the stay. Is this right? Yeah, that's right. So the court lifted the stay on April 1st, 2025, noting the counts, acts in the criminal case connected or related to the property issue have been resolved. The stay in this case is hereby lifted, and the case is open. Oh yeah, Duke had some different watches. He had like a Rolex, I think, and a couple other things, but not the famous watches. Upon information belief, this order was entered on the docket on the same day, but was not served on undersigned counsel. In fact, undersigned counsel did not learn of this order lifting the stay until today, August 12th, 2025. On April 15th, 2015, it's probably 25, counsel alerted this court that there was a potential conflict for May 5th due to the Diddy case. Basically, they're just going back and forth on scheduling. Counsel estimated the trial was expected to last 6 to 8 weeks and requested to know if the court would consider further noticing the trial to a date once my federal trial has concluded. On the same day, counsel informed the court he's available on May 1st as well as May 2nd. The state replied that it was not available on those days. The court responded the claimant's hearing would be rescheduled for a future date. May 21st, they pushed it down the road again. June 23rd, this is all scheduling stuff. The court responded looking July 18th or August 4th. The final hearing in this matter has been scheduled for August 18th. That's really what I was trying to get at. Now, forfeitures are disfavored and should be enforced only when they are within both the letter and spirit of the law. Thus, this honorable court must strictly construe the forfeiture statute against the state. This is true in pretty much every context involving forfeiture. Forfeiture is a quasi-criminal proceeding that permanently extinguishes a property owner's right to certain property, and accordingly, the forfeiture statute must be strictly construed against the state. Under OCGA 916.12, if an answer is filed, a bench trial shall be held within 60 days after the last claimant was served. However, such trial may be continued for good cause. Where discovery is requested and permitted, the court may provide for the scope and duration of discovery and may continue the trial to a date not more than 60 days after the end of discovery, unless extended. The 60-day requirement is mandatory, not permissive, because the purpose of the statute is to ensure a speedy resolution of contested forfeiture cases, as well as a speedy resolution of property rights. The state's going to follow the rules. The burden is on the state, not the defendant. It's the state's duty to obtain a continuance for good cause if the hearing is not held within the 60-day period. And again, this was like Brian, it was the Diddy case, so Brian was actually the one who was like trying to get it extended. But it says that the state has to be the one to get the continuance. The result of a failure to conduct a hearing within 60 days is a dismissal of the complaint. In the case at bar, this honorable court should dismiss the complaint because of the failure to comply with OCGA 916.12. The prior court stayed the forfeiture until the criminal case is resolved as to all defendants. Yet unbeknownst to claimant and to claimant's counsel, until August 12th, 25, the stay was lifted on April 1st, 2025. So this is important. So when Steele was asking to delay the setting of the date from where it was previously scheduled, he didn't know that the stay had been lifted. So he can say that, yes, I was trying to push it out, but I didn't know that we could actually have the hearing that soon. So I wasn't taking into account the 60-day the 60-day deadline because I didn't think it applied. Why doesn't all just automatically go back to him? I mean, it should go back. This is just a terrible example to use. Like this case is just a bad example of when it makes sense. When I do these kinds of things, it's because somebody like defrauded hundreds of millions of dollars and I need to like go get their private jets and stuff because they're definitely guilty of stealing money, but that just isn't the case here. Backwards dress is hilarious. Yes. Tiffany pointed that out to me. We had a whole conversation about the backwards dress. It was one of my favorite conversations. I asked her her opinion on like whether that's a thing that happens. I was like, no. Therefore, the hearing had to be conducted or continued for good cause by June 2nd. The order setting the final hearing in this case was entered on June 24th after the 60-day period, and the hearing was not scheduled until August 18th, well after the 60-day period expired. The state has never sought a good cause continuance. I've cited this case for something completely different, and I don't know what it is. I'll have to look that up later. The state cannot ask for continuance at this late juncture. The result is that dismissal of the state's complaint is required. The result of a failure to conduct a hearing within 60 days or to obtain a continuance is a dismissal. I think you quoted that already. At no point did claimant waive his right. I wouldn't have said this quite this way. I'll explain why later. First counsel was required to notify the court of conflicts pursuant to the Superior Court rules. Accordingly, notifying the Honorable Court of Conflicts does not waive any rights. Since the filing of a notice of conflicts is mandatory, I'll read that. Basically, he's saying that even though he was rescheduling, it doesn't mean he's rescheduling because of Diddy. It doesn't mean that he waived the right to the 60-day hearing. And a letter written on May 21st, counsel requested a hearing in the immediate future. He might actually win this. This is ridiculous. Second, counsel is unaware of the April 1st order lifting the stay until today in an email to the state and counsel for Martinez-Arnold. This court wrote the attached were submitted for e-filing yesterday. I'm not sure why they have not yet gone through the e-filing system. This strongly suggests that, although filed, the order lifting the stay was never served through Odyssey. Therefore, even if counsel's notification of his conflict could have waived the right to a hearing within 60 days, it certainly did not hear as counsel did not know that the stay had been lifted. Any waiver could not have been knowing or voluntary. I can't believe this argument. Third, even if counsel consented to moving the hearing outside the initial 60-day period, despite not knowing the stay had been lifted, and that the time is running, counsel never agreed to hearing outside of the second 60-day period. I don't know if we need all this. It's basically arguing that the the delays are a big deal, and he should be allowed. Oh, okay. I'll read the whole thing. Third, even if counsel consented moving the hearing outside of the initial 60-day period, despite not knowing that the stay had been lifted and that the time is running, counsel never agreed to a hearing outside of the second 60-day period. The additional 60 days would have run on August 2nd, 2025. I guess that's... Wait, what's before that? I need to calendar this or something. April 2nd. I'm confused by these dates. Email, April 1st, 25. April. I guess if it's like April to June and then July to August, maybe. That'd be the second 60 days. Indicated he was available in June, the May 21 letter. Accordingly, even counsel waived the first 60-day period, the hearing still was not held within the second 60-day period. Oh, that's my dog. He doesn't like forfeiture. I lost my spot. Such a lengthy delay in conducting the hearing renders meaningless the very purpose of the statute, the speeding resolution of contested forfeiture actions. Given that forfeitures are disfavored, this court must strictly construe the forfeiture statute against the state. The instant complaint must respectfully be dismissed. That's really funny. So Brian asked for the stay to do the Diddy trial. And now it's too late. This is really funny. April 15th, he's asking for the delay. Okay, we're not going to go through all of this correspondence, but this is the state's response. It's shorter, because of course it is. Comes now, the plaintiff state of Georgia. Oh, there's one technical thing I need to explain after this. Remind me to do that. At no time relevant in this case has plaintiff state sought to needlessly delay a final resolution or final hearing. Conversely, it is claimants who, after the lifting of the stay, sought a continuance of the forfeiture hearing and consented to the scheduling of the hearing for August 18th. Yet they now complain that this forfeiture hearing was not held in a timely fashion and seek dismissal of the complaint for forfeiture against them. This is actually a misconception. The complaint for forfeiture isn't actually against them. This is kind of why the duty to get the continuance being on the state is why it is that way. Because, look up, why do we have to do this dumb thing? Here we go. So this is state of Georgia versus bunch of money, cars. These are the defendants. So this is who the action is against. Now, a Smith & Wesson 40 caliber can't move for continuance. Even a Lamborghini Aventador can't move for continuance. That's why the state's the only party that can. I shouldn't say only party, but obviously the alleged owner's interest holders, they're not technically parties to the action, so it makes sense that the plaintiff would be strictly responsible for getting any continuances. But the action is not actually against these people. That's what they're missing. So right here it says, they now complain that this forfeiture hearing was not held in a timely fashion and seek dismissal of the complaint for forfeiture against them. It's not against them. It's against the property. Norma did a CBS 46 interview about wine and crime event with Cheryl. Yeah, oh, that wine and crime stuff is ridiculous. This is patently unfair and a misuse of Georgia law to at once cause a postponement of the forfeiture hearing and then argue that said postponement should be held against everyone but themselves. You know what's really funny about this is the Martinez-Arnold stuff. Because they were clearly trying to play games with the deadlines. They were lying to Ashley, or not lying. They were omitting information to Ashley, not telling her that it was the deadline to file a responsive motion or whatever it was. But now they're saying it's super unfair and a misuse of Georgia law. That's exactly what they did. Claimants consented to a stay of the proceeding, and the stay was subsequently lifted. Well, it was on April Fool's Day. The final forfeiture hearing was set for May 5th. The state was available, but its counsel for claimants who requested the trial be moved, and thus waiving the 60-day requirements until at least approximately 6 to 8 weeks after April 28th due to conflict between the May 5th, 2025 hearing date in this case and another case in New York City. This asking for a continuance is a waiver of the 60-day requirement. This better be a good footnote, because I don't see any case law in here for the reasons I said before, because they're the plaintiffs and the defendants the property, and so it's going to be on them to move for continuance, for a good cause continuance. So this citation better be really good. Turner versus State. There's no year here, so the citation's incorrect. That's a bad start. As such, the respondent property owner in a forfeiture action may waive the requirement by seeking a continuance, interpreting the 60-day requirement to have a forfeiture here found in... Wait, isn't this a different statute? They're up to... I'm checking this one. They're up to something. I don't trust them. I mean, I didn't trust them before either, but... Come on, Westlaw. Turner versus State, 234. Wait, that can't be a... There's no way this is accurate. No, not that. It's wrong. There we go. As such, the respondent property owner. Let's see. This is a case from 1998, so that's a bad start. Granted the state's complaint for forfeiture and property owner appealed. Since property owner sought to continue the hearing to a date outside the requisite 60-day statutory time period, he waived the 60-day requirement, which was for his own protection, and thus he could not complain that hearing was... I should show you this. Why am I doing this? Here we go. Since property owner sought to continue the forfeiture hearing to a date outside the requisite time period, they waived the deadline. Let's see, any of these people? No. Cobb County. Yeah, the problem, I mean, I think this is a different statute, first of all. How is this distinguished? Outside. Sorry, I'm just doing a little on-the-fly research here. Oh, interesting. Okay. So I think the difference between this case and the Young Thugs case is the issue of the stay. So this case, Turner versus State, would make sense if there were no stay in place, but Brian didn't. He didn't know the 60 days was running when he asked for the continuance because he wasn't served with the order lifting the stay. So this case doesn't really work, which is really funny because in most contexts the state would be right, but this might be a weird exception to that. This is really funny. Okay. See Exhibit A. This makes me so happy. Okay. The court complied with this request with no objection from the plaintiff. They're so mad. At no point until the filing 2 days ago have claimants opposed in any manner, either by email or motion, the rescheduling of the date. This, the plaintiff state contends, is consent and agreement by the claimants to the August 18th, 2025 hearing date, even though August 18th admittedly does fall more than 60 days after either the April 1st lifting of the stay or the entry of Christian Eppinger's sentence on June 10th. The Court of Appeals in Turner explained that the 60-day requirement for a forfeiture hearing is a requirement for the benefit and protection of property owners. That is true, but again, there's the issue with the stay. That doesn't really get to that. Claimants requested a continuance of the forfeiture hearing for May 5th so that their counsel could handle a completely separate, unrelated matter. The forfeiture hearing was moved at their request to ensure a prompt resolution of the matter, and at no point did claimants object. Yet now they seek to use the moving of this trial date, not as a shield, but as a sword. They should not have it both ways. The plaintiff state respectfully requests that this court deny the claims motion. Yeah, they don't have any law on their side. Aren't they all served electronically? I think there's a problem. I didn't understand what they were saying, but I think Whitaker said that it looked like it was filed, but it didn't go through or something. So there's definitely an issue with service. The Steele Law Firm. Why would you... That's just Persefield. Why would you... This has nothing to do with... Why would you attach this? They're so useless. Yeah, so this is... That is the thing here, is that these are the defendants. It's in rem. It means against property. So the defendant... Young Thug isn't a defendant. So this is a plaintiff, and then this and the other stuff are the defendants. Isn't it a third party? I think so, but you're always responsible for making sure that your stuff gets filed, though. But yeah, I think it's Odyssey that has to do that. That's really funny. He might actually win this. Does Diddy get like half the money if Thug wins this? I feel like that's fair. That's fine. I knew what you meant. The Steele Law Firm at MSN.com. So more moving stuff. Persefield, John Merchant, who's from Maine like me. Maybe conflict on May 5th. So there's all scheduling stuff. But again, if they don't know about the stay, that kind of undercuts the state's point. And also the law says it's always on the state to get the continuance. The state might actually lose this. That'd be really funny. 2 days total. Colette is flexing on him. Mr. Williams' portion of this case should take no longer than 3 hours because we know we're going to crush them. We'd love to see it. June 18th. Yeah, there's all the scheduling stuff. But I don't know. I think Brian Steele's motion might be better than the state's. Man. That's funny. Oh man, how long have I been going on? 2 hours? That's a long time. Unless Whitaker continues to ignore the state's errors. I don't think this is one that she might actually want to take advantage of this mistake. Especially since the state was playing games with Martinez Arnold. Let's see. Anything else that I want to show before I call it a night? I don't know. Yeah, I think that's probably it. The state uses a... Oh, wait, actually, I'm going to show this real quick. I saw this last night. Actually, no, I can't go this right now. It's too long. I'll save this for tomorrow or Sunday. But it's a really good AI. The technical thing? Oh, yeah, that's the thing I was talking about with the fact that Jeffrey Williams isn't actually getting sued. So he's not... He's an interest holder, but I don't think he's technically considered a party to the case. So that's why it's on the state to get the continuance. So even though he caused the delay, it might not have anything to... It might not matter for purposes of the case at all. Which is not usually the way it works, but... I don't know. It's kind of funny. I'm tired. I was all worked up about by the trial today. There we go. All right. I think I'm going to call it a night, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me vent and complain about the case. I'll probably do another more organized stream on the Wolfenbarger case. Or actually give a coherent analysis instead of just complaining about stuff. But yeah, maybe Sunday or next week. We'll see. But yeah, thanks everybody. Have a good night.